Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to some Farming Simulator 25 here on Sobowelo and our Start From Nothing challenge. This is Xerox. We are working toward getting hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back
Getting
to
more
some
equipment
Farming
in.
Simulator 25. We are working toward building up our farm. Go ahead and hit start here. But we're still doing contracts right now. We still have two more contracts to do. Let me make sure I don't have any to accept. Oh, I do have this one to complete, so click that. So what we're going to work toward, there's three main things we need. Well, really there's four. But three, I guess, main things we need are a harvester and header, a seeder, and then also oh, we are at the field we need to be. Alright, so a harvester and a header, a seeder, and also a trailer to put, crops in. And then I also want to look into buying a new auto load trailer. I'm going to start this on a worker just temporarily while we look in the shop because I added something new here, and we'll pick it up. Oh yeah, you know what? I gotta get rid of this before the worker will do it. Let's. I forgot I had that on the front. The worker will not work with an extra implement. Let's go back and get him started. Alright, so we're going to kind of look at the shop here and see how much money we need to actually be able to buy land and start farming. And we have a plow, we have a fertilizer spreader. Now we do need a lime spreader too, but we could do without lime. Alright, so trailer, I already know the trailer we're going to get is this one. And it is 35,000. So that's that. And then we need a harvester. Which is 104,000 plus 20,000, I think. Yeah. So that's another 124,000 plus 35,000 is 150,000. And then we need a seeder. Which is going to be 49,000. So we basically need 200,000 to get everything we need to go to where we don't have to worry about, like I said, we really and truthfully need fertilizers. I mean, lime spreader as well. Um, and we can get away with doing some of it. I mean, obviously, we don't need the harvester or the header until the crops come in, so we can get away with some thing. But we're going to be doing whatever we can to make money until then. My goal for today's stream, you know, I named it "Working Toward a Harvester." I believe is what I named the. Yeah, toward land and a harvester. We are going to be working toward that. But if I can get the seeder in, that will at least give us the ability to plant. and also give us the ability to do a few more contracts. Um, the harvester we don't have to have right away, but we're going to have to be at least working toward the harvester when we plant our first field, and then we still got to buy the field. So we're looking at needing roughly um, 310,000, I think, because the first field we're going to buy is field 44, which is 60,000. So 310,000 is what we need to get to. All right, let's stop this worker. He's helped us out a little bit while we were talking there, but it's time for us to get to work. No point paying him a whole lot of money. All right, let's go ahead and get lined up here. Alright, and I want to get our lines on because that helps me a lot. So steering assist, hit OK. We'll hit H and V and 3. Nope. H 3. There we go. It registered that. Sometimes it doesn't register for some reason. But anyway, we do have these 2 cultivating contracts to complete, and then we also have looks like 5 fertilizing contracts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5. We will have to spend some money to fill our fertilizer spreader, but we can do that at our house because if we go to our map here, go up to our one property, we have a buying station on it, so we can fill it with fertilizer in there. Now we do have these 2 contracts. One is here, 118 is way below us here, I think. Yeah, way down there, but we're gonna have to go back to our farm and fill it with diesel first, or we will run out, and then I'll be in a pickle. We don't want to be in a pickle. But guys, if you're watching the stream, I do appreciate you being here, and I'd love to chat with you. If you have questions or anything like that about what we're doing, like I said, if this is your first time watching this stream, we have some rules in place. The rules are like this: we can't borrow money, we can't lease equipment. So any contracts we do, we have to have the equipment for. Right now, all we can do is fertilizing, plowing, and cultivating. We can't borrow from the bank. We can't do contracts unless we have that equipment. We can't buy anything on the map other than land. We can't buy productions or animal husbandries or anything like that. All we can buy, everything we have to build ourselves. So for productions, we're going to have to buy a piece of land and put buildings on there if it doesn't fit on the first piece that we bought, which was a field that we converted into a yard. So we can't buy anything else like that. We have to sell our products that we have every month regardless. The only products we're allowed to save, unless, other than ones we put in productions, obviously, but the only ones we can save are wood chips if we do that, but we are a long way from wood chips, so but we would save wood chips only until January, because that is really the only month where you can make any money to actually make doing wood chips worth it. And we'll look in the finance tab here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, if you go down to wood chips, I think they're at the bottom. wood chips. All right. So we're playing on hard economy. So 541 is the most we can get for wood chips. At the lowest, it's 170. But you see, the only 2 months that you really want to sell them in are December, January, and possibly February. So that's why we will just save our wood chips until January if we have them, and we'll sell them then because it just in the base game at normal economy they're worth about $1,000. We're in hard economy, which makes everything basically half as much. So yeah, 500 something dollars per 1,000 liters. We're not going to sell stuff for 170. Um, we probably won't be selling straw or silage or anything like that because we're not going to make any money at it. If we do the same thing, we look at um, silage. You can pretty much sell it any time of the year. It doesn't change a whole lot. But 121 per 1,000. Same with straw. Straw is not that much either. I think straw may be at the top. Yeah, straw 50 at peak. So no point in selling that stuff. We're just going to use it to make TMR. We'll put us it's a fermenting silo mod that I have, and we will put all our straw and grass into that so it can make silage. That's just what we're going to do, and that will be to make TMR for our cows that we'll have at some point in the long time future. But that's the rules, kind of what we can do. We will be doing cows, chickens, and goats. That is the only animals we will have. We won't have horses, pigs, or sheep. With the exception of there is a fish farm production. We may do that. It's a relatively cheap production, but we've got to have I think corn and wheat or something like that for it. Just gonna head up this line here. But if you are watching, don't forget to comment. Let me know you're here. I'd love to chat with you. And if you like what you see, hit that like button and consider subscribing. We stream daily. Now, we don't stream Farming Sim every day. We do stream it 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday around this time. Between 8 and 8:30 is when I'll be starting those streams every night on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But we also have a lot of other games that we stream. We stream 3 to 4 times a day, except for Sundays. We only stream once, and that will be the late night stream. And then we also have a few games that we make videos of. I put out 2 to 3 videos per day. Most days it's 2, but some days I might have a third one, depending on my time that I have to record. But that's where we are. But we are a long way from having any of that stuff right now. We need, basically, like I said, to get started on farming, we need about $300,000 to get all the equipment, unless the equipment that we need comes up in the sale. Which right now, if we look in the sale, the only thing that we have is a header for a forage harvester, which we won't be doing. So, but we will keep our eye on that. Now, I would prefer not to get a harvester or header in the sale, or a tractor in the sale, for the simple fact that the repairs become astronomical over time. But we will eventually have a decent farm, I think. The goal is to kind of have a farm sustaining itself for the most part by December of this year. In other words, we're making our own money now. We won't have, even if we have all the stuff we need, we can't start farming until spring because we won't have, the only things we'll be able to plant are green crops, and I think like either peas or green beans or something like that, which we won't be doing unless they come out with a harvester that harvests multiple of those types, because I'm not going to pay $1.5 million for those 3 harvesters, because it just, we'll have peas and spinach and stuff like that coming out of our greenhouses. Right now our greenhouses only have tomatoes, strawberries, and lettuce producing. We'll be spawning those pallets out and selling them at our sell point every month, just until we have a production that can use those things. We won't cut on any of the other things in our greenhouse until we can actually use the products in our production, because it would make it just a little bit too easy with those greenhouses that we have, which is the open air gardens. They produce so many different crops. If we had all those going right now, it wouldn't take us but a couple of months to get everything we need, and I don't want it to be that easy. So just 3 products being made right now. I'm not sure if there are any productions that use lettuce and tomatoes. I haven't found one, but that doesn't mean it isn't out there, because I haven't looked in a while. But those will probably be spawning those pallets pretty much indefinitely every month. But the rest of the pallets, our rest of the crops will be used in productions. But like I said, we won't turn any of those on until we have a production that they can be used in. And one of the production buildings that I'm looking at getting as our first one does produce a lot of different things, and that's why we're going to go with that, because it is cheaper. But we are not going to sit there and stockpile crops in our greenhouse, because the rule is we can't hold on to anything. So I would just have to sell it all, and then I'd be selling way too much each month to make it a challenge. So we're just gonna stick with those 3 for now. And we got those put down earlier in this month, and we are staying in September as long as we can, because we need to do as many contracts as possible to be able to make enough money to kind of sustain ourselves through the winter months, because I doubt we'll have very many. What's going on here? There we go. Alright. I doubt we'll have very many contracts in November and December, or January and February for that matter. We might have a few contracts for cultivating and possibly plowing in November and December, but not too many. We may have a few fertilizing too. It just really depends on what crops people have, because we can't harvest anything. There are tons of harvesting contracts out there, but until we have a harvester, we can't do those. And once we have 2 fields of our own that are planted, we'll only be able to do 5 contracts per month. And then when we get to 6 fields, we won't be able to do but 1 contract per month. So then we get to our 7th field, we won't be able to do contracts at all. And we can't just buy fields and keep making greenhouses or things like that. We are going to limit ourselves to 4 total greenhouses over the course of the series, but right now we have 2, and that's all we're going to have for quite a while. I won't be adding any more greenhouses unless they can't keep up with the production buildings. So that's where we are. So like I said, we're doing all these contracts, trying to get through. It's telling us we need gas. I'm going to finish this contract. I think we have enough to finish this one before we need to go fuel up. We only have, looks like, 1 full row and then that little strip and a couple of pieces on the end of each of that middle row where the worker started. We're 80% complete with it, so we'll be able to finish this one before we go get the fuel. Of course, playing on hard economy, the contracts don't pay as much as they would in the base at normal economy. And if we look at this too, just to show you, let's see if we can find lettuce, strawberries, and tomatoes. Even spawning our pallets at best, they're 1100 and 800. In the base game, they're over 2000. So, even though we're going to be spawning those out, same with strawberries, they're only 500 at max. Tomatoes are 565 at max. So, not going to be making tons off that produce. this one. Let's go get our plow and we'll go back to our yard and fill it with gas or fuel, diesel. One thing we need to do is go into here. I did not realize that I placed that down wrong. So we're going to sell this. And then we'll put it back down. Alright, now we'll fill up with diesel. Alright, so that was $250. Alright, we're going to go ahead and drop our plow off because we don't have any plowing contract right now. Alright, we'll head down to 118. this is 118 here. We were able to pick up a couple more contracts there. Another cultivating and another plowing contract. And they are both pretty close to our farm. so we are pretty close to being done with this one, and 55 is a pretty big contract and it pays a good bit. So we're going to be really close to being able to get a cedar. Really close to getting a cedar. So that is a good thing. By the time we do the fertilizing contracts, I think we'll be there. On the cusp of being there anyway. Done. Let's go ahead and collect that one. I think we can cut through here. Get back to the main road. And 55 is this huge field right here. I'm gonna be here for a while. Guys, if you are watching the stream, don't forget to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more daily streams and videos. And if you're watching on the replay, can do the same thing, but also leave comments down below. And if you're watching live, please feel free to chat in the chat so I can converse with you. Let's get this one down here. It's a huge field. Not ideal to do with this size cultivator, but it's all we got. Let's look real quick at that cedar again. It's 49.5. We're going to be really close to that after we do these contracts. This and the fertilizing contracts, which we're going to do next after we do this one and that little plowing contract. Probably move on to October unless we get another cultivator and a plowing contract to pop up, or fertilizing, any of those three. We're going to take all we can because we need them. We need the money. This is one of the best contracts we're going to get, paying $16,000. So. So we are 13% with this contract. 50% will be a goal on this one just to get there. It is a long one. It's going to be a big contract for us, though. One more headland, and then we'll start going up and down. Alright, so we're almost 25% complete with this one. Like I said, this is not ideal to do with this size cultivator, but it's the only one we have. And we can't pass up a $16,000 contract. 29% complete. So 29% complete. We're getting there. third of the way through with this one. Alright, let's go ahead and see if any more have popped up. Nope, same ones it looks like. Let's look at our productions real quick, see how many we have of our stuff. So 300 liters in that one, and 60 liters roughly in that one. So maybe we'll hit a few $1,000s from our produce at the end of the month. Now we're going to go ahead and knock these contracts out, do those fertilizing contracts. Then we'll refresh again and see if there's anything else that we can do. And then if there's not, we'll move on. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit though, because we got a long way to go on this one. 40% almost. That little plowing contract's not going to take any time at all, and the fertilizing contracts won't take long. This would be a perfect field to put on a worker if we had a second tractor. But yeah, we're nowhere near that right now. We could use the money to buy a tractor, which, you know, that's $58,500, but and it can be upgraded a little bit, and you know, who knows, we may decide to do that. My plans are always fluid in FS25, other than main things, but getting a second tractor to do contracts, or we could be doing some and they could be doing some, would not be a terrible idea, because cultivating contracts do take the longest because we have such a small implement. So I may consider that if we get to 60,000 before we buy anything else. I may get that second tractor just so we can have contracts going on in the background. Might be the smarter move. And I would just use them to do cultivating and possibly fertilizing contracts. We'll have to do the plowing with this tractor. Finally hit 50%. A lot of field work to do in this one. But man, the money we're going to make is going to be nice. We'll eventually own this field. This is one of the most expensive fields on the map at 297,000. We'll eventually own this field and probably have it as a wheat field, barley or oats, one of those. Probably wheat though. This would be a good size field for a wheat field. Say this field was 12 acres. Yeah, good wheat field. I mean, we could actually probably cut this field in half and make two fields out of it. But we are a long way from that. 90% complete. We got about anywhere from 12 to 15 more passes to make. Actually, 15 to 18 would be correct. That's about right. Getting about 2% per strip. So, but man, it'll be nice when we complete it. It's going to double our money. This one contract will. I think we're close enough to get to where we just start doing this instead of having to make those wide turns. Or I should say sharp turns. We can make wide turns instead of sharp turns. 70%. Alright, so we'll get done with this one and go do that pine contract, then we'll pick up all those fertilizing contracts, and we'll see where we're at. We should be around 40-ish thousand, maybe a little more. Actually, probably closer to 45. Without doing the math, I'm just going to say around 45. So we'll be real close to getting a seeder. But we may try to save 10,000 more and get a second tractor for contract work. That way we can always have somebody doing a contract for us while we're doing other contracts. Kind of leaning that way now, because that will just double the amount of contracts we can do basically. Actually, more than double, because we'll be doing faster contracts than they will. We'll be able to do 4 or 5 contracts to their one probably, if they're doing cultivating, because that's pretty much what I would use them to do, is cultivating contracts. Fertilizing and plowing contracts don't take as long, so we can knock them out really quick. The cultivating contract, especially on fields like that, like this would have been a perfect one to put a worker on and then go do like 5 or 6 contracts, or 7 or 8 while this one was going. But until we get a second tractor, that's not a reality. So let's just hope that we can get moving a little bit more and faster going. You know, we'll make a little bit of money when we switch over the month too. So we'll have some money coming in from our greenhouses, hopefully. We're not going to spend the money until we need to. That's why we may decide to buy a second tractor instead of the seeder. Like I said, we can't plant until spring anyway, because we are playing with seasons, and we can't plant anything until spring. And most likely we will be planting oats in our first field, because that's the only thing we're going to be able to plant in the springtime, and we want to get crops in the ground as soon as possible. So planting oats is probably our best option there. Since we can't plant sorghum anymore because it is now done with a planter instead of a seeder, um, that's going to be our pretty much our option. Let's look at seasons real quick. I'm pretty sure that oats is the only thing that we could plant that we would be able to harvest with the harvester we're getting. Yeah. I mean, we could do sunflowers, but oats are going to be the green header, and that's the header we're going to be. Of course, sunflowers we'd have to buy a planter instead of a seeder, so yeah, oats is really our only option. And then hopefully by the time it's time to plant wheat and barley, which will be in like I don't know August, September, we'll have another field to be able to plant that and um, keep going. But playing with seasons, it's going to be kind of a what we can plant with what we have until we get a lot more equipment and things like that. So when we get done with this, we can go pick up our fertilizer spreader and our plow. We can put the plow on the front and do our plowing contract, and then we can get started on this fertilizer contracts. Because, like I said, we're not going to be doing it with worker. We're going to be doing it ourselves. So we're getting down pretty close to 85% on this one, so not too much more to go, and then we'll get that big payday of 16 grand, which will speed us along pretty good. So I'm debating, I kind of am leaning toward putting down the production building, to be honest. And if we have 45,000 at the end of this stream, that's what we're going to do. Even though I want to save for a seeder and things like that, if we get the production building, that means we can cut on other crops in our greenhouse, and we can start making more money off of pallets and stuff like that in between. And we're still going to be doing a lot of contracts. That's not going away until the end of the year, but if we put down the production building I'm wanting to do, we'll be able to make a lot of different products with the greenhouses. So we'll see when we get there. If we have the 45,000, I think it is, to buy that production building, that's probably what we'll do instead of buying anything else, because that is going to allow us to produce a lot more with those greenhouses and kind of get us rolling a little bit. And now we're not going to be doing a bunch of multi-production buildings like that. This will probably there's one more that I may do that does like bread and cereal, and I think it does like tortillas and cakes and stuff as well. But that would be the only two really big all-in-one production building type things that we have. And I may just do the one. I can't remember what all this other one makes, but I want to think as we put it down on our survival challenge, but that's been quite a while ago because I haven't been able to record Farming Sim for quite a while. But I want to think it does pretty much all the same stuff minus the tortillas, and the recipes for cereal are different. I think this one takes like wheat and stuff instead of oats, or maybe wheat and oats. Um, but we'll look at that if we have the money at the end of the stream here, because that would allow us, like I said, to cut on more products in the greenhouse and start making more pallets in our production if we do that. So we'll just have to see. But again, in the greenhouse, no matter what it is, if it can't be used in a production that we have, then we can't turn it on. So I mean, those greenhouses do make a lot of stuff. I mean, if we look at the production here, I mean, they make carrots, peppers, garlic, grapes, green beans, lettuce, Napa cabbage, olives, parsnips, peas, potatoes, red beets, spinach, spring onions, strawberries, sunflowers, and tomatoes. So if we look at this, it makes about 520 to or 300 to 500. Some of them are 1,000. Um, doesn't make any grain or anything like that. Now there is some grain greenhouses that I think that might be. I don't know. I haven't looked through the mod hub a whole lot lately. There might be some greenhouses that produce grain, and we'll look at that. But like I said, we can only build 2 more greenhouses no matter what they are. So 4 is going to be our max. So I'm really just going to have to think about and look at the greenhouses and see what's available out there. Because like I said, it's been a few months since I played Farm Sim. I mean, we've been playing this one for about a week, but it's been months before that since I played because I couldn't get it to record. So, but we are getting really close to this one being done. This has been a long contract, and I realize that, and I apologize for that, but I couldn't pass up 16,000. Couldn't do it. But what we'll say, if we have enough to put down that production building after we do these other contracts, we will do that. If we don't, we'll refresh contracts and see if we can get another one to do to get us there, and then I mean, that's going to be our new goal, is to put that production down. Just thinking about it, it's going to give us a lot more options as far as what we can produce and things like that. And at this point, we are in need of ways to make money. So, but we got to have, I think, 46,000 to buy that. So if we're not there, we'll just save our money until next month, until we can put it down. And then, like I said, we can't plant until spring. I mean, yes, technically we could plant wheat now, and I think possibly next month. So yeah, we could plant. No, we can't even. No, we could plant it in October, and then we would harvest it in August. But that would mean we had to get a seeder and a piece of land in October. I don't see that happening. So I think the production building will probably be our best use of that money, because it's going to allow us to produce more money, if that makes sense. And the 4 greenhouse thing, there's always that option of destroying the greenhouses that we have and building bigger ones of the same type, but we're not going to do that, because again, that takes away from the challenge of having to go through the grind. Because we could do that now. We could tear those 2 down, build 2 more real quick. Build the medium ones, which are twice the size, and put out twice as much. But that wouldn't be realistic to me. Hey, we put up these greenhouses and then we just tore them down, put them back. Now, later in the series, if our productions get to the point to where, hey, these greenhouses aren't keeping up anymore, then we might think about that. But as for now, because what we would do is destroy those 2 and build one in its place, because the footprint for the medium one, I think, is about the size of 2 of the small ones. So that's what we'll be doing, replacing 2 with 1. But we're not going to consider that until later in the series, when it is necessary for us to get more. Alright, this one's done finally. Let's go ahead and accept that. Thank you, sir. Alright, now let's go ahead and pick these up. We're going to get them all. We're going to go back up here to our farm, which is conveniently right over here. And see, this one could come up for cultivation as well, and it's right beside us, so or plowing, either one, so that would be good for us. And we're going to spin around and grab our... Alright, let's drop this here. Let's go around and get our plow. We're going to put our plow in front. I know that is not the proper way to use it, but we can use it that way. So we're gonna. Alright, and let's go up here and get a fertilizer spreader. And we're going to go back here and fill it up. Too far. Alright. Start. Alright, so that was about $2,000. I was expecting more than that. Alright, now we're going to 142 first. That is the plowing contract. We're going to get that one out of the way. And then we'll go and do all these fertilizing contracts. Now, field number 5 is up here. Actually, we may do field number 5 since we're going to be driving across it. So we'll do field 5, fertilizing contract, then we'll do 142, which is plowing contract. And then we'll go down and do 157, then come up to 112, and then 62. Alright. Field 5 is just a little bit further. Is it this cornfield? Nope, it's going to be the one on the other side. Okay. Other side of this tree line here. That'll be field number 5. We'll go ahead and get this one knocked out. This is going to take 2 passes probably. So, let's go ahead and do that. Again, these fertilizing contracts are really quick money, and ideally we'll have enough money to put down the production and also move on to the next month and sell a few pallets and pick up more contracts. So let's cut that off. And then we need to get to 142 up here. We'll go ahead and switch implements and unfold our plow. Alright, so 142, I think it's going to be this one right here. Alright, yep. Okay, it's a weird shaped field, small. Alright, let's go ahead and lower our plow. Just get this one knocked out. And the reason why I love this plow so much is because of this. It can make things a lot easier to keep from having to go back and switch implements. You can just kind of keep rolling, switch implements, do different contracts. Also, because this plow eventually will be able to upgrade it to 12 meters for just a few $1,000s. I mean, we could go ahead and do it now. We probably won't do that unless we get a contract for plowing a really big field, because it doesn't really make sense to do that at this point. But now, like field 55, if it was to come up for plowing, I would definitely upgrade it, because that would make the contract go half as, it would be half the time, because it's going to basically double the amount that we're plowing at once. But I don't see us doing that upgrade right now, because it's not necessary until we get either a really big contract for plowing, which is going to take a long time with the small one. We're not going to worry about upgrading it, or until we have a big field ourselves. But this map has a lot of narrow fields, so it really doesn't make sense to do that unless we have to. I mean, it's only a few $1,000. I think it's like $4,000 or $5,000 to upgrade it to 12. Not that much. I mean, we can make that off of a couple of contracts. All right. Let's go ahead and raise up our plow. We'll fold it in. We'll switch back to our fertilizer. All right. Now where are we at? Our next one looks like we have 4 more, so 12, 114. Or 112, 114, those are right next to each other. Alright, yeah, let's go do 157, which is basically straight down the map. Try to cross through that forest up there. I don't know if we're going to be able to, but if we can, that will save us some time. I'm having to go all the way through the little town, so I'm hoping we can do that. looks like it's thin enough to where we can. We'll know when we get there. Alright, there's a fence there. So, let's see here. Can we get through here? I think we can. Actually, right over here. So we have to go through the creek. But that is going to save us from driving all the way around. Now we can drive straight down to the field. We are at 28,000 right now with a couple contracts to collect. So we're just going to wait and collect them all at once and see where we're at. So I would like to get that production down, cut all that stuff onto the greenhouse, and move on to the next month so we can start doing more of the same. Alright, let's go ahead and get that on. Alright. Head to 114. Here's 114. I wonder if we can get this in one pass. I'm going to try. It's going to be kind of close. Back up just a little bit. Yeah. Alright, that one's done. 112 is right over here on the other side of these trees. Which I think we can get through right here. Yep. This one's actually a pretty decent sized field. Really decent sized field actually. We'll start on this edge right here. Alright. I originally thought about building in this area, and I was going to use this particular piece of property for animal buildings, but I like where we're at better. It's a little more wide open and has a couple of really big fields there, Not as many big fields. There's a lot of fields here, but they're not as big. Now that one over there is pretty big. Was it 117 is a pretty big field. But I think this one, that one where we are is much better when it comes to being able to lay out a decent sized farm. Because we can go all the way down to like 63 and across, and like really get a lot of fields going, and we can turn a couple of those fields into animal productions or animal places. Like 63 or 61 would probably be where I did animals if I was going to do up there. I mean, we might even by like 35. It's near us and it's long, so it would be a good place to put animals as well. Alright, what did we miss? Did we already get all this? I think this corner right here is going to get us. Yeah. 97, 99, and 100. Alright. We just go up back to our farm. On the way to our farm to 62 up here. And we're going to see where we're at. Hopefully we'll have enough money to get that production, and then we can get all that set up and have our own money come in for the first time. Have to change the name of this video or this stream after we get done here, because I had said saving up for harvester and land, but we actually are getting a production. So like I said, plans are always fluid in FS25. I really did not anticipate having enough money at the end of this month to get the production. But we are basically going to be right there once we complete all these and turn them in. Close to our farm, so let's collect our contracts. Let's see where we are. 40,000. Alright, so we need 5,000 more. Did we have any more contracts come up? We did not. Let's refresh. And we may just have to move on. Doesn't look like they're going to give us anything else. So, yep, we're going to have to move on. And maybe by the time we sleep, and our pallets spawn, we'll have enough money to buy that production. That's kind of where I want to get before we end this stream, so to get that production. So let's go up here and sleep. We'll just leave all this attached to our tractor for right now. Alright. Let's go ahead and use our bed for the first time. We're going to sleep till 8 in the morning. So let's look at the sale. Okay, that Fendt tractor, it's only 95 horsepower. What does it take to pull? That's a good deal. I mean, it is an ugly tractor. I don't like it, and it's only 95 horsepower. But if it could pull our cultivator, it could. Tempting. Alright, let's see what we got out here. We do have some pallets, so that's not what I wanted. Alright, these are supposed to be liftable pallets, but they're not. That's not working apparently. So we'll just pick them up this way. So, yeah, we're not going to be there. We're going to have to do a contract or two to get the production in. Hopefully only one. Alright, so we're at 42,700. Alright, let's look at contracts. There are a few. Cultivating for 6,100. Harvesting, mowing, no plowing. So I guess we're doing a cultivating contract. I'm sorry guys, that's the only thing we can do. That's all we are available for right now. So let's go ahead and park these two. Alright. That's not the one I wanted to park. I wanted to park this one. Spin around. I'm sorry that pretty much all we've done this episode is cultivate fields, but that's what we got. We don't get to pick what contracts that there are. Actually, real quick, let's look at our productions. Make sure they still got plenty of water. They do. So yeah, they got plenty of water. Alright, so we are going to field 80, which is where? I'm assuming south. Yep, field 80's right there. Basically straight down. This way, around the trees. Is foggy. I like this field here. It's a triangle. It's pretty cool. I really like the guy who made this map, guy or gal who made this map, and I can't remember who they are, but the guy or gal who made this map really did a good job. All the fields are different. I mean, there are a lot of similar fields, but for the most part there's a ton of different ones as well. Alright, let's go ahead and maybe this one won't take too long, but this will get us to our production building. So we're going to be, if this may be the only contract we can get. I mean, it is October. There aren't a lot of available contracts at the end of the year other than harvesting. Like I said, November, December we might have a few cultivating, plowing contracts. And we could probably fast forward a little bit, but we'll do that in the next stream, which will be on Monday night. Once we get this one done and get our production build down and get everything set up with our greenhouses, we'll be at the end of this video, end of this stream pretty much. I always like to go about 2.5 to 3 hours, and we'll be at the 2.5 hour mark once we get all that done at least. So we will. And tomorrow we will be streaming. Well, I will look here in a second to be sure. Let me get going down the next way. Alright, so tomorrow we will be streaming Dinkum in the morning, and then at 10:30 we will be doing Grocery Store Tycoon. At 4 o'clock we'll be doing TCG Card Shop Simulator, and at 8:30 tomorrow night we will be doing Storage Hunter Simulator. So that's where we're at. So we do a lot of different games. We do FS25 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We do ATS on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And all the other games we play are Storage Dealer Simulator, Storage Hunter Simulator, Grocery Store Tycoon, Dinkum, Stardew Valley, Teddy's Haven, which we streamed earlier tonight, and maybe one more. My brain's having kind of a senior moment here. I'm not able to compute. But we also do some different games in our videos. Now, games I stream, I'm not making videos of. So it's basically either a stream game or a video game. Well, they're all video games. Making videos or streams. But let's see here. So yeah, ATS, Stardew Valley, Storage Dealers, 2 Point Museum. That's the one I couldn't think of. We did that one yesterday. Those are the games that we're streaming. All that. And then the games that we're making videos of are Junkyard Builder, Blacksmith Master, Yard Sale Simulator, City Supermarket Simulator, Car Dealership Simulator, Supercar Collection Simulator, and Traveler's Rest. Currently are the ones we're doing videos on. So lots of different types of games. We always have at least 2 videos, and every day but Sunday at least 2 to 3 streams. Weekends are 4 streams. I eventually want to get to 4 streams every day but Wednesday and Sunday. Sunday will be 3, or Wednesday will be 3, and Sunday will always be 1, unless we don't have church for some reason. Which isn't very often that we don't have church on Sunday. So sometimes on Wednesday we don't, but I'm already streaming 2 morning streams and a late night stream on Wednesday. So if we did a 4th stream, it would be because we didn't have church, and that would be I would do a stream to have something to do during that time. But Sundays will always just be 1 stream, unless we don't have church, or me or my wife are too sick to go to church, and then I might throw in an extra stream, and it would just be an extra stream of one of the games we already are streaming, or possibly a game that I'm not streaming currently but had a series of, and to continue. Like right now, we're not streaming Corner Kitchen unless it's an extra stream. So if we had an extra stream to do, Corner Kitchen would be um, that stream, because I haven't completed it. I'm close to completing that one, but haven't completed it yet. So that would be, if we did an extra stream right now, it would either be that or one of the games that we're already streaming. Um, but something different every day. Like I said, ATS and FS25 are 3 times a week. Everything else is 2 times a week, I believe. But we do have something different every day for you to watch. But also, if it's a particular game you're wanting to watch, we have at least 2 or 3 times a week for each of those. I'm going to be looking at a few other games that people have mentioned to me they would like me to play. If they can be afforded, we will do it. If they can't, we'll have to put them off a little bit. But one of them I'm really interested in, but I'm not going to mention that because I don't know if I can get it yet or not. So, but if you do, it will be coming to the channel in the form of a stream, which will take the place of something else that we have. At least one of the streams of something else. But Farming Sim, ATS, and Stardew Valley are my 3 biggest streams right now. And 2 Point Museum actually is doing really well. So those are going to continue. So if I replace a stream, it will be one of the other games like Teddy's Haven or Grocery Store Simulator, or Tycoon rather. Don't think it'll be Dinkum because I'm really enjoying that one. I've never played Dinkum before, so it's a fun series for me because I'm experiencing that whole game, and I know there's a lot in that game, and a lot I still don't know about that game. But I may, if I get this other game that somebody really wants me to grab, I will probably replace one of those that we mentioned, one of those streams each week with that one. And if it does really well, we may pull something else away to do it twice a week. But we won't know about that until I can look at the game and see if it can be purchased. Because I am disabled, I only get paid once a month. So I have a limit to what I can spend. I don't know if I've hit that limit yet or not. Or if I haven't hit the limit. But I don't know if this game is going to be cheap enough for me to get this month. So we may have to put it off until August to do that. But like I said, I'm not going to mention that. There are some other games. I know one of my favorite series of games is coming out with a new one in September, at the end of September, which is Final Fantasy Tactics. I can't remember the name of it right offhand. Now that one will be coming to the channel. I want to play that game. I have missed playing Tactics because I don't play consoles anymore, and that, other than a mobile version of it, there's no way for me to play it without a console. But this new one is coming to Steam, and I am excited. That one is going to be a game that we play on the channel for sure. Which will be a different type of game for us because I don't really have that type of game right now. But I am looking. That is going to take me back to my college years because I used to play Final Fantasy Tactics a lot. So we will be getting that one in September. So if you're a Final Fantasy fan, it will be coming to the channel at the end of September, 1st of October, whichever. I think it comes out on like September 30th. So but I will have pre-purchased that game, so when it does come out, it will be downloaded immediately, and probably will rework streaming at that point to where I can get it in at least 2 or 3 times a week, because I'm gonna want to play that game a lot. And that's that. Honestly, guys, I play games I like. I'm not a what I and there are a lot of good streamers out there that play different games, and they only play them, for 5 to 10 hours. But a lot of those guys also get a lot of keys for games for free. So I do not do that because, I'm a small channel, and so I have to pay for my games. And if I pay for a game, I want to play it until I feel like I've gotten my money's worth out of it, or it's completed, um, whichever of those comes first. So I'm not going to be bouncing around playing, you know, 15 games this week and then next week have a different 15 games. I can't afford that. Um, Now, when the channel gets bigger and companies say, "Hey, well, he's been doing this for this amount of time, and they want to give me keys," I will definitely put those out there. But until then, you're going to see the same games from me for a while, at least until we complete them. Of course, with FS25, there is no completion, so we will just be, we'll take this series as far as it wants to go, and then we'll move on to a different series of FS25. Um, and with American Truck Simulator, I'm going to play it until all the states come out, and they hadn't even touched the East Coast yet, so there's a lot of that. And they're basically in middle America right now. So it's going to be a while before we finish that. But we will get done with this contract here, and then we will go ahead and get that production building in, cut on the production stuff that we can, that we can actually use in the production building. Now, there are some in there that we will be able to use and some that we won't, but most of them we will be able to use right away. I'm not sure about potatoes. I'm not sure if the building makes the sunflower oil or not. I know it makes most of the canned goods, which is the reason why I want it, because our greenhouses make all of the things that make those canned goods. So I'm hoping. I'm not sure about sunflowers, so we may not be doing sunflowers and potatoes out of there, but I can't remember what the production building actually makes. There's a lot of different products, so we'll just have to look at it once we get it put down. But we will be able to do that at the end of this stream, because this contract is going to give us that much money. And like I said, plans change. I would love to get that tractor, but right now this is the only contract we're available to do. So, and I have a feeling that it's going to be that way for the rest of this year. We're just not going to have much to do, because this is the end of the harvest season. Now, like I said, next month we might have a few plowing contracts, and we may get some later on in this month. We're not going to move on from October until we know we've done everything we can do. But right now, it is the only contract we can do. Literally, we don't have any of that equipment. We could refresh and see if it gives us anything, but I don't think it's going to change much. Alright, so yeah, it did add more, but all stuff that we can't do. So that's where we are. Hopefully our production building will make us enough money through these light contract months to get us toward the things that we need. Now, I would love to have that second tractor to do nothing but cultivating contracts, but realistically, the production building is going to make us more money because the amount of time it would take that tractor to do one of these cultivation jobs is going to be long, and right now there's no really point because we don't have enough contracts to do ourselves. So that is a cheap tractor though, 15 grand. Would love to have it. Now if we had another 15 grand on top of this for this production building, then I would do it in a heartbeat, just because it would give us another tractor. We wouldn't use it for long. We'd use it until we could get another one, but it would allow us a little bit of extra, contract time, because we could put a worker on a contract like this and we could be doing other things. But now we just don't have the amount of contracts we need. Because we don't have the equipment. It would have been nice to have a harvester because there have been a ton of harvesting contracts we could have done. But we don't. I didn't want to start with all the equipment. It takes the fun out of it. And this is pretty close to a survival challenge. But with most survival challenges, I do those on maps where we have to build everything. We buy land, we make our own fields, that kind of stuff. So here, the fields are already existing, so I don't really see it as a survival challenge. It's more of just a kind of a rags to riches challenge, I guess you could say. Because you're starting with, just a couple of pieces of equipment, which we started with a fertilizer spreader and a tractor. And then we bought the cultivator, we bought the plow, we bought the house, we bought the 2 greenhouses, we bought our buying point, and we bought a selling point. So, everything we have, we've purchased with money from contracts except for the tractor and the fertilizer spreader. We had the $1 million that it gives you for farm manager, and we bought the tractor and the fertilizer spreader and 4 pallets of fertilizer. Then we zeroed ourselves out. So we didn't just give ourselves a tractor. We paid for it and then got rid of the rest of the money. We basically kind of pretended like we had this big loan and we paid it off. But this is what we have. And, it's what we can use. And like I said, we're limited on the types of contracts we can do right now. Now I could probably justify spending money on a mower, because there are quite a few mowing contracts right now, and they pay pretty well, but they're also pretty big fields, and we would only be able to buy one part of the mower. And I don't like the pull behind kind that go to the side. So I would have to buy the front mower and just cut the grass with a front mower, which means about this wide for a whole grass field. Now granted, they go a little bit faster, the mowers do, and we could get it, and I'll think about it once we get our production building down. We may do that because mowing contracts go year round pretty much. We're seeing mowing contracts now, which means they would almost always be in October for those fields, and then other months as well. So it could be a way that we make extra money, and I may consider that once we get this production building down. I may consider getting the front mower, because eventually we're going to need mowers anyway. But I really am leaning toward getting equipment to do, start our own fields. It just really depends on how much money our production buildings are making. If our production buildings make us enough money next month, when we go to the next month, when we go to November, if they make us enough money to actually get a set of mowers, which I doubt very seriously, but at least get us the front mower, we may do that. Um, because that will open up more contracts we can do. And like I said, we're going to need the mowers at some point anyway. But I got to get, I feel like the production building's a better call here because it is going to produce money for us every month. Where the mowers are only going to produce money for us when we have contracts that we can do. So, trying to be smart about it. I mean, we definitely could buy the front mower now, but I would want the mowers that um, do the swath dropping, which are more expensive because it makes it easier for me later. That makes sense. Because that we're going to be... Alright, we're done with this. Let's go ahead and pick up our... And let's head back home. Let's turn in this contract. Alright, and we'll double check, make sure there's nothing else we can do. I don't see anything. So we'll check on that next stream. But here we have enough money to get our production building, and it'll leave us about $3,000 for purchasing fertilizer or whatever if we need to. But don't see us needing any money right now, so we're gonna go ahead and get this production building put down, and that'll be a nice end of the stream, getting something that's gonna make us money in. And like I said, mowers would make us money. It's just, it's a big expense that you have to do so many contracts for. This production building is going to make us money right away. We do spend $45,000 on it, but it's going to be producing money for us every month, where the mower would not, if that makes any sense at all. It does in my head, but maybe not in yours. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this production building in. And let's see, we're going to go to productions. It is way down this way. What's this? See, that's an interesting one there. We may look at that at some point. Now this is a dairy production, which I do like. It makes a lot of products. It also takes a lot of products. It takes strawberries, honey, sugar, goat milk, cow milk, buffalo milk, chocolate. But it makes a bunch of things, so we may look at that one in the future. Once we get animals. We gotta have animals for all that. Alright, so I thought about this one, and I've changed my mind, because I think this other one is better for what we spend. It's not that one. Is it this one? Yes. Alright. This one makes all the canned goods, milks, even makes rope and TMR. Yeah. This is the one we want. Alright, so this is the one we're going to get, and we are going to put it near our house, but this way. Alright, first things first, let's do a little bit of landscaping here. We want that as smooth as possible. Alright, and then let's go back to here. What is this one, right? Yes. let's look at that. Alright, let's get out of our tractor here. Let's go look and see what it looks like. Yep, that works. And then we can also smooth this out a little bit. So let's do that. That looks pretty good. And it looks like our pallets are going to be kind of in the ground a little bit, but it'll work itself out, hopefully. Alright, now let's look at what productions this does make. So we go to this one. Alright, so it makes bread, which we can't do yet, but it does make canned peas, so we'll activate that. It makes carrot soup, which takes carrots, so we can do that. Now this one makes cereal with honey and long grain rice, or cereal with wheat raisins and honey. Right, cheese we know we can't do. We're not going to be doing clothing. Now it can do flour from long grain rice or wheat. It can do grape juice, so that one we can activate. It can do jarred green beans. It can do kimchi. It can do noodle soup, which we can't do because we don't have eggs. It does do potato chips, so there's another one we can do. And it does potato soup. Alright, and then we got beets, parsnips, carrots, red beet soup. It even does rope. What does rope take? Well, yeah, we won't be doing that. Rice oil, spinach, and it does sunflower oil and triple soup, which takes carrots, parsnips, and red beets. All right, so let's go ahead and turn all this stuff on. Just the versions that use water only, because we don't have money for seed, fertilizer, and whatever else it takes. So grapes, I believe we can turn everything on, so I don't know about that one. I didn't see if it made olive oil or not. We need to go back and check. But we'll go ahead and get these other ones cut on so it can start making that stuff. Alright. And then activate, and then we need to go through and change all these to distributing, except for right now the strawberries, lettuce, and tomatoes, because we have nothing for those to be used in until we get some different crops. When we get different crops, we can use the strawberries. Alright, so let's go ahead and put these on distributing, distributing. Alright, and then does this one do olive oil? It does. So we can turn the olives on also. Did we get everything? we did, I believe. Double checking. Can't do flour yet. We'll cut that on once we have wheat or long grain rice, which makes me think about that. Alright, so let's go ahead and cut olives on. Alright, now we have production building with all that stuff that it can make. And it will be putting out pallets here, and we will be able to sell them right there. So I think we are done for today. I'm glad that y'all joined me today. This is Rock, and if you haven't already, go and hit that subscribe button, that like button, that notification bell, and also don't forget to leave comments down below. All that stuff for you is free, and it helps me and the channel grow, and I do appreciate all the support you've given me so far. You guys rock. I love you guys. I hope that y'all have a blessed day, and I hope to see you in the next one.